I'm gonna probably piss a lot of people off today. Okay, fine, so be it. Hey YouTube, welcome back. First thing I want to do is I want to tell everybody thank you very much. That one video that we have, ironically enough, went over 400,000 views. I don't know why, but it did. So when I get up in the morning, the first thing I do is I check the comments and I check just to see if people have questions. I like helping people out. And I started reading through some of the stuff, and I sit with my coffee and try to figure out what kind of video I want to do for today or tomorrow or etc. Kind of plan my week out. But I probably answered this question a million times in those over 2,000 comments. Thanks, by the way. Probably 1% of them talks about spoiled kids. And I got my own car at 16. My parents didn't help me out, everything else. Hey, I totally get it. I do. After reading the comments, I decided I want to talk about raising spoiled children. Neither one of our boys, I want to make this very clear, were ever raised to be spoiled children. As you can tell by the way we do things around here, it's completely unorthodox. We took that box and shoved it up somebody's arse, if you want to put it that way. I'm going to probably piss a lot of people off today. Okay, fine, so be it. But raising spoiled children in today's age is a very common thing to do. When I go out to restaurants or when I'm doing some laundry at a laundromat, big blankets, stuff like that, stuff you don't want to put in your own stuff, ruin the motors and everything else. So when I'm sitting there doing my own thing, maybe I strike up a conversation with somebody at the restaurant or at the laundromat. This is their conversation. Yep. Uh-huh. Yep. And at the same time, kids come running up when we're trying to have a conversation. Blah, 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 blah. Hey, blah, 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 telling somebody something important or just shooting the crap. Kids come running up, interruption. Parents don't even care. They're like, whatever. They're just being kids being kids. That crap needs to stop. How about I put it to you this way? This is the way it makes a little bit more sense. If you had a computer or a new phone, would you just take it out of the box and just start making only phone calls on it? Or do you program it a little bit, figure out what apps you want, some of the options you want to turn off and turn on, maybe look at the privacy issues, stuff like that? Then why in the hell don't you do that with your own children? To make change, you must change. If you do not like what's going on in this world or the way we see things or do things in America anymore or anywhere in the world, we have to change to make change. You can't keep on repeating the exact same cycle and expect different results. I want everybody to know this very clear. I know I'm not a perfect parent and I don't claim to be one. Neither does my wife. If people want to listen to the first couple minutes of that video, they probably didn't hear me say, we live in the middle of nowhere. We put on a lot of miles on our cars every year. The stuff kind of cars that we were buying, we never had car payments up until that car. Not that we did not want one. It's just, if you're paying money on interest, you're just giving away free money. You gotta be more frugal, especially in today's world. Hence why we live in an off-grid house. Solar panels, yay! Pay once, cry once. Every 5 years after that, pick up some new batteries. Don't want to go too big on your battery bank. Don't want to go too small. But I totally digress. But we live off the grid. Wood heat, no heating bills and electricity bills, well, sewer, all that crap. To make change, you must change. When we decided to have children, yes, we decided. My wife and I got engaged before we even thought about having children. We got married, and I still waited. We both still waited after we got married. If you wait for the perfect time to have children and all this, horse shit. There is no perfect time to have children. You can wait as long as you want. You can have them right away. There's no perfect time. When it happens, it happens. Digression again. But this crap about my wife and I spoiling our children by buying a Lexus? Wrong, 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 wrong. The depreciation on Cadillacs proves my point. Anything over 100,000 miles, dirt cheap. Yes, I'm an American. I wish America made a good quality product. Oh, buy Fords of this and this. I ain't gonna listen to it no more. I've done it, been there, done it. So when we were deciding what kind of vehicle would be best for us and for our child at that time, we looked at all the vehicles and all the reliability stats and all the resale stats and talked to a whole bunch of people and everything else. And the thing I kept on coming across, Toyota, Toyota, Toyota. And every once in a while I heard a couple of mechanics say, Lexus, Lexus, Lexus. And I thought, oh no, these Lexuses, electronics, very fancy cars. Fancy cars means money. That's only if you live in America. So, did some investigation, listen to Scotty Kilmer. Toyota, Honda was my first two choices. In Iowa, I don't know if you guys know this or not about Iowa, but in Iowa, we have mixed precipitation. Some days, it'll be 15, 20 degrees, but it'll be raining outside. So we looked for these cars. We wanted to get them a four-wheel drive vehicle. Where we live, I'm gonna give you guys kind of a perspective on where we live. His school is that way, about 15 minutes. 12 miles, 15 minutes. His work is that way, 14 miles, about 20 minutes, because you have to go through some S-curves, everything else. We bought that Lexus at 216,000 miles. Brought it to mechanic. Mechanic uses scan tool, figured out, hey, this one has mostly highway miles. The scan tool that he had, it showed how many times the vehicle turned on, and it showed how many times the vehicle was turned off. Do some calculation. Car was 11 years old when we bought it, 2021, in January. 216,000 miles. Do the math. Most people drive between 12 and 13,000 miles per year. Most people drive. So we did some calculations, read through the history, looked at all the sheets on the maintenance, good to go. Perfect car. But choosing out that vehicle was not my first choice. I kind of like the Toyota Tundra. Nice, smaller vehicle. I don't fit into much, but I can still fit into that. At least I'm not Oompa Loompa. So I can fit into a Tundra, Highlander, 4Runner, even the RAV4. I looked at all those on the computer, autotempest.com. Check them out. Went through all over. So many states away, and Guess what, people? With the cars and vehicles going up at that point last year, for a good running four-wheel drive that will last, because we put on major miles living here. But for a good four-wheel drive, they wanted astronomical prices for. I'm talking like, yo dude, I got like a 2010 Chevy Silverado extended cab, has 175,000 miles on it, has a brand new this, brand new this, brand new this, brand new this. I want $8,000 for it. Really? So lo and behold, Scotty came out with this video. If you do not have this car, you are stupid. And guess what? The shoe fits. Wear the bitch. So we checked out the Lexuses. IS250 all-wheel drive. The smallest one they got, the cheapest one they have, stuff like that. And when I say cheap, I'm not talking about the packages or anything like that that comes inside the interior that makes a Lexus a Lexus. I'm just talking about over an LS. Four-wheel drive, found out. Same transfer case and pretty much the same stuff as a Tundra. Swap them in and out. Started researching Toyota. Toyota perfects something and they stick with it for a while until something new and better comes along. Or when the United States changes their standards on their regulations. So we bought this Lexus for them. Cheap, fair price range, four-wheel drive, hit every criteria that we asked for. We got it for them. Put up a video, Thank you again, guys. But these comments, most of them, majority of them are, hey, congratulations, good for him. Glad you guys looked into buying a nice vehicle. Toyotas are reliable, blah, 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 blah. Great. I love answering them. I love helping anybody out on any of my videos. But some people are nice. They go around things saying nice things, which I respect. I mean, we don't all have to be assholes all at the same time. The world will blow up then. So I read through these comments in the morning, drinking my coffee. Spoiled kids are this and spoiled kids are that. Hey, I 100% agree. Like I said before, previously, if parents are doing this and they have a brand new phone and they give more crap about their phone, teaching their phone how to do certain things that they want to do or like to do, and they don't have time, and they just use the excuse, let them be kids, they'll grow up. They're going to grow up way too fast in this world. They're growing up too fast in this world because you guys are choosing them to grow up too fast in this world. What do I mean by that? If you push them out into society and doing their own thing, I'm not saying to control your kids. I'm not saying to be on top of them. But I'm definitely not telling you to be their best friend either. Do my kids hate me? No. Do my kids love me? Yes. Do I love my kids? Yes. Do I tell them I love my kids every day? Yes. And humanity, people, does not change. Situations around us changes. And people say, oh, humanity changes. Prove me wrong. What's the first thing you do? Learn to hold your head up. Second thing you do, learn to roll over. Third thing you do, balance and maybe sit up. And you get my point. Humanity does not change. We all go through the same cycles of life that everybody else does. Going through puberty is a very good example. We might not all go through it at the exact same time, but there is a few years where they all go through it around the same time. But humanity does not change. It doesn't. You're going to experience the same stuff this person did at the same time. And I don't mean walking in their shoes experiencing stuff. I mean changes in your body, your mind, and everything else. I'm a Generation X child. My parents were baby boomers, and they had their specific way that they were taught to do it this way, this way, this way, every single time. And if you do this, you'll be successful in life and you'll have a pen at the end of the year and blah, 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 blah. I'm gonna tell you guys something about Generation X right now. Over half of the Gen Xers came from divorced families. They came from ruined relationships. But what I learned at a very early age, this 40-hour job, work week, or the same job, week in, week out, year after year. Because when you're young, time goes by really, really fast. But you get to a certain age, and the years start piling up. And you're like, go yourself in the mirror, what the hell? Who the hell are you? You guys know what I'm talking about. So when we had kids, I knew from growing up, was this 40-hour work week that my parents had, coming home, doing the same thing over and over and over, watching shows, watching TV shows, maybe going to aerobics class or doing these hobbies and stuff like that during the week. And then going to the weekend and be like, oh, it's freedom. And back to the work week on Monday, talking about the things you did on the weekend, and you do the exact same routine for years. That for me wasn't gonna fly. One of the things that generation, talking about the baby boomers, always told us, this job isn't glamorous or you ain't gonna become famous or anything else from this job, but it'll put food on your table and pay your rent and pay your bills and blah, 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 blah. It's not about being glamorous. It's about working in a mindless job. If a freaking monkey can do it, a robot's gonna replace you eventually. So getting back to what I was saying before, so when my wife and I decided to have children, we knew this box wasn't gonna work. We saw the way the country was going, how we were separating more from being a family into being more consumer-based. Who has the biggest TV now? Ooh, look at this flat screen. It's $14,000. What the hell? Competing with the Joneses, all that crap. We were done with it. It's not right for everybody. If it's right for you, hey, congratulations. You like it. That's good. But when we had our children, we decided to change. You have two choices when you raise children. Go from what you know and what you were taught as a child, keep on repeating the cycle. Or, if you don't like that cycle and how it went, change it. But you're going to have to change as well. A lot of times people can't do that. They're so bred into doing it the same way their parents do it, it just doesn't change. A lot of new parents, I've seen this a lot more than I did in the past, they give their kids away to friends and family. I need some me time. When you're having fun making these kids, you have to have fun raising these kids. When you want time for yourself, include your family. But when you have a child, that me time is over. When you have children, that fun time will come later. The first 3 years are the most critical. You can teach them major things. The way you talk to your children, the way you teach them, the style that you live, how you live is all going to influence your child in later years. So you got to start soon. Now getting back to my son, which we picked out this vehicle for. He did not start talking until just over 3 years old. I remember this day very vividly, like it was yesterday. I was making breakfast in the morning, doing dad thing, making breakfast for my family. It was on the weekend. All of a sudden my son comes around the corner, holding his blanket. And I looked at him and I said, "Morning, son, how are you this morning?" Even though he was not talking to me, I always talk to them. If you don't talk to your children, people, they're not going to learn how to talk. I have a friend. They don't talk to their children. They don't even talk to each other and they're married. What the hell? So I asked him, "Hey son, how you doing this morning? Nice to see you, blah, blah, blah." He looks right at me. He's like, "I'm fine, Dad. How are you this morning?" I stopped and I froze. And I said, "Oh, son." I said, "Why haven't you ever spoke before?" I picked him up and held him in my arms. He's like, "Because I didn't want to sound stupid and I don't want people to make fun of me." So that's the kind of kid I knew I had right then and there. He was reading books. Not, hey, I memorized 2 or 3 big books, like, you know, those square books where they have the really thick pages and they're probably like 4 or 5 pages long. The duck ran across the road, or the duck went into the pond, blah, 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 blah. Those kind of books. It wasn't those kind of books. Eric Carle, great author, rest in peace, but my son was reading full books by him at the age of 4. He taught himself multiplication. Kindergarten, Christmas break from school, or winter break, we were doing cookies. I said, "Hey son, you want to teach yourself how to multiply?" "Yeah. Look at this. There's 4 in this row. There's 3 in this row. You can count in pairs, right?" He's like, "Yeah. 2, 4, 6, 8, etc." I said, "Very good. Well, check this out. 3 in a row, and there's 4 rows. So essentially, you're counting by pairs again." And he's like, "Oh, 4 times 3, 12. Very good. He learned how to multiply by cooking with Dad. So then after learning a few more basic things, we started talking about what Mom and Dad were talking about with him. Economics. Talked about hyperinflation, devaluation, interest, about banks, how they made their money. We taught him stuff that normal kids weren't learning about at that age. We always try to teach our children for long term. I always tell my boys, since they are boys, you gotta look farther than your tool down there. Way farther. Because if you don't, it's gonna come back and bite you in the butt. At 3 years old, he started talking. 4 years old, he was reading full books. 6 years old, he taught himself multiplication on Christmas break. He's always been a very smart child. Always. Both of my children are. One applies himself a little bit more than others, and one likes to, hey, we're gonna have fun. Love them both the same. Just wish that one would try a little harder. But parents, you guys understand what I'm talking about. When we taught our kids about inflation and investing and tangible versus paper and assets and stuff like that, we were talking about this stuff to when you was very young. You gotta remember, like, very young, 5, 6, 7 years old. where they're teaching him this stuff. One day we went out to eat with his grandparents. They said, hey, we're coming through the area. Why don't you guys stop and have some breakfast with us? We'd like to see you guys. So we met up. He started talking to his grandma about silver. And she was like, oh, silver is pretty and stuff like that. And Alan's like, yeah, it is. He's like, but I invest in it, Grandma. And she looks at me and she's like, what? I said, tell her about what you're investing in, Alan. I did. I told her about, I'm investing in silver. And I said, why are you investing in silver? And he said, because it's tangible. And I said, what does tangible mean? I can put it in my hands. I have it. His grandma looks at me. He doesn't need to know this. He's only a child. He'll learn this stuff later in life. Put down my drink, kind of crossed my arms, looked at her, and I said, you know what? That's the problem with today's society. No one teaches this stuff to children at this kind of age. So when they finally get to adulthood, they don't have a freaking clue. So her and I kind of bantered back and forth a little bit. He spoke up and he's like, that's right. I'm going to know all this stuff before I need to, because when inflation hits and hyperinflation hits, if it ever does, I'm going to be set. Need I say more? So prime example, he's been investing in silver since he's been really, really young. Like most children, relatives sometimes give gift money for like the birthdays and stuff like that, or if you celebrate Christmas, holidays, stuff like that, they give money away to the younger children. So with his money that he got, he asked me when he was really young, Dad, can I invest in some silver like you do? Sure, buddy, that's no problem. But Alan, don't you want to have some toys or anything else? He's like, I got enough toys. I got enough stuff. I said, okay, so what kind of silver do you want to buy? With this much money, how much can I get? I said, well, how about we take a look? There's this one website, coinflation.com, coinflation.com. Gives you spot price of silver, gives you spot price in all of your dimes, quarters, nickels. Yeah, there's a couple of years of nickels. They'll give you a spot price of copper, all the other cheap metals, but you look at that and give you current spot prices. So we went to Coinflation. Then after that, found out what the price of silver was, maybe $9-10 at that time. We went over to eBay. We typed in US currency, dimes, 1964 and older, lot, or roll. Found a roll of dimes. He had enough money for that, paid for that. Months later, a couple years later, kept on watching Coinflation. He's like, Dad, my money's really going up right now. I said, I know. He continued that process 3-4 years, buying rolls here and there, here and there, here and there. A few years later, probably right around when he was 9-10 years old, we looked at the price of silver. He's like, oh my God, I made so much money investing in this. I said, yes. So he kept on investing. Neighbors need some work done, previous places that we've lived, around the yard, shoveling snow, doing this, that. He found out once you start making money and you have tangible assets in your hand, it really makes kids think a little bit more. So at 9-10 years old, he was out making money. We're helping the neighbors, doing these little small things, and a few cents here, a few dollars here. He kept on growing his nest egg, kept on investing it. At the age of 14 years old, here in Iowa, the kids can start driving. He asked me when he was 13, Dad, can I go get my license at 14? And I said, why? He's like, because then I don't have to wake up so early to get on the school bus to go to school. The school bus picks up the children about an hour to an hour and a half earlier than school starts. Granted, school is only 15 minutes this way. When he was asking me this, I knew he was a straight A student, making honor roll and all this stuff. But he said, Dad, can I buy a car so I can start driving to school? Because there's certain stipulations in Iowa where kids cannot ride with other kids when they're that young. He asked me, can I buy a car? After Mom and I discussed it, yeah, great, please do so. You're responsible enough, but if you do this and this and this, we're going to remove your privileges. Because driving is a privilege, is not a right. Then we digressed into the Constitution, Bill of Rights, etc., etc. So at the age of 14, Alan bought his first car with his own money that he has earned. From doing chores, investing in money, he's earned this, let alone having really good grades. We told him also, you have to pay for your own insurance. You have to pay for your own gas. Okay, I'll do it. I have enough money. He turned 16 years old in October, got a job. By the end of the month, he was working 25 to 30 hours while he was in school. He kept on working. The way his company works is if you bust your butt and you're a good employee, they're gonna give you more hours. And remember, this is during the Charlie 19er stuff from last year. So there was still people that were employed there and they weren't short-staffed like they are now. But he was moving up. He started getting between 35 and 40 hours a week. He transferred to another store, same company, different store, because they were short-staffed as well. So they brought him in, gave him a pay raise, the whole 9 yards. And remember, he's 16 years old still at this point, still going to school, everything else. Last year, the snow didn't really start until January. Some years it snows in October, some years it snows in November, December. But last year, it didn't start really snowing when you have bad weather until January. With him driving that old Impala around, car was same age as him. We knew he was closing the store at night. He was coming home between 11 and midnight every night. I was preparing to get in the car and drive him to and from work every day when the snow was going to hit. And he was talking about, Dad, can I buy a vehicle? Can I buy this other vehicle? I want to buy a 4-wheel drive. Hence, that's where I started looking for vehicles. Autotempest.com. Trust me. So we found this car. Yada, yada, yada. You guys know the story. So also this past August, he went out, bought a car, bought another vehicle, traded it to his older brother, that's 19 years old, for a piece of property that he had. Then a couple weeks later, he said, Dad, I'm gonna go buy another car. I said, you're buying too many cars, man, what's up? And he said, I just want to have a 4-wheel drive. I said, you have a Lexus, all-wheel drive. He said, no, I want a 4-wheel drive to go out camping, hunting, off-roading, and do fun stuff with my friends. I said, so what are you looking at? He said, a 1999 Chevy Suburban, 4-wheel drive. I said, okay, why not? So not only did he buy his first car at 14, he bought a car for his brother to trade for a tangible asset, property, because the guy doesn't make no more property unless they're Chinese, and he just built an island. And he traded his car for that. A couple weeks later, bought himself a 99 Chevy Suburban. But he is not a spoiled child. We've never had cars like this, ever. We reward him. We think long term. We educate our children. We do not sit here on the phone and not pay attention to our children. We have structure. We are not controlled. My kids are not going to have Stockholm syndrome from me yelling and screaming at them and then saying, oh, I love you so much, and screw them up in the head worse than the stupid public school system's doing right now. If you put the time in and work with your children, if you school your children, I ain't got time, I ain't got this. Excuses, I don't care. If you start at a very young age and work with your children, help them learn, figure out what works for them. But you have to incorporate this stuff at an early age, because at that time, it's the most critical. And anybody that has kids will tell you this exact same statement. When kids are young, you are God to them. They lose you, they start freaking out. Use that time very wisely. They look at you. Mom and Dad, I'm speaking to you guys, the one who has kids right now. They look at you guys like you're gods. So since you have that attention at that early age, and they admire to be like you, you ever notice that parents are screaming and hollering at each other all the time? The kids go to school and they scream and holler too and all that crap. If you go up and slap your husband or slap your wife, or playing or not, me personally, you don't hit anybody you love. You don't lay a hand on them. You can lay a hand on them, but it's going to be in love. It can't be domestic abuse. None of that crap. If you love a person, don't hit them. Don't act like that. Your kids are watching you, and they look at you as like the all-being. We've all been there. My daddy's bigger than yours. My dad's better than yours. My dad could whoop your butt. Do you see what I'm saying? These kids, even though you might be a little wimp to your child, That's at that age, they think you're a hero. So take advantage of that time. I mean, seriously. If the kids want to be with you, then take full advantage of it. If they're looking at you for, oh, I want to be just like daddy or mommy and all this stuff, take advantage of that time. Teach them the things that you know the schools are not going to teach them. Teach them about real life. Because we know when kids get out of that stage, they're going to go through their friend stage. And their friends are going to know everything, and that's where they're going to get all their advice. So please teach your kids what they're going to have to know for the future at a young age when they're still listening to you. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you guys like it. I hope I didn't piss a lot of people off. If I did it, hey, truth hurts. Sorry. Take care of yourself and each other. Like, subscribe. If you haven't, dislike. Leave me a comment. Tell me I'm crazy or not. So have a good day, guys. Thanks for watching.